we're going to have to present to us Missy Daniels as our first presenter. Let's give her a hand.
Good evening. I guess I don't need to introduce myself again. I will tell you I'm used to presenting to the County Commission at a podium with my cheat sheets right there, so I don't have that tonight, so bear with me. And if I don't hold this in the right location, let me know I'm too loud or too quiet. Can everybody hear me? Okay. Sector plans. Sector plans are provided for in state statute. I will say I get the pleasure of presenting the boring technical part. You may have questions, you may want to write them down. I'll try not to linger too long on the statute part, but just to let you know what a sector plan is. Sector plans are intended to promote long-term planning for conservation, development, and agriculture on a large-scale landscape basis, meaning property owners or groups of owners with at least 15,000 acres can come in and apply for a sector plan to a county. They're to emphasize urban form and protection of regionally significant resources and public facilities. And as I go through the presentation, I'll explain kind of these overarching concepts of sector plans. And the sector plan requirements blend local comprehensive plan amendment and development of regional impact issues and processes. And I'll also explain what that means as we go through. Sector plans are on two levels. The first level is the adoption of the long-term master plan, which is an amendment to the county's comprehensive plan. The county has a comprehensive plan. In the 1980s, the Florida legislature mandated that cities and counties start doing comprehensive planning and create comprehensive plans. There to be generally, some things have changed lately, but generally evaluated every 7 years and updated if needed every 10 years. The last time Alachua County updated their plan as an overall update was in 2011, I believe is the last adoption. Since then, and before then, now I give a podium, but I don't have a cheat sheet. I think that fits. Okay, where was that? Okay, the last time we updated an overall update was 2011. Since that time and before that time in between updates, we have private amendments. People come in and want to change the land use on their property or the text and policies of the comprehensive plan. Always on a smaller scale. We've never had a sector plan. In fact, this is the first true sector plan that's beginning after the 2011 statutes. Alachua County will be the first one. There are others in the state, but they were under different requirements. The second part of the sector plan is the adoption of detailed specific area plans, at least 2, at least 1,000 acres each. So you think of it as the long-term master plan is for the entire, for Envision Alachua, about 60,000 acres. So you get a plan that's kind of a broad plan, like our comprehensive plan is for the county for the entire 60,000 acres. If that gets adopted, then they would submit detailed specific area plans for sections of that 60,000 acres to give us more details how that would be developed. The long-term master plan and the detailed specific area plans may be based upon a planning period generally longer than a comprehensive plan. A comprehensive plan is a 20-year plan. Like I said, we update it about every 10 years, so it pushes it out another 10 years. But it's a 20-year plan. Envision Alachua's plan for the sector plan is proposed as a 50-year plan. State statute allows that. They also have to specify the projected population in the planning area in Alachua County, and they can include, allocate a portion of Alachua County's growth over the next 50 years to the Plum Creek property. They have not done that so far in their application, and we are still getting more information. I don't think they're going to. They don't have to. They're also not required to demonstrate need. Historically, comprehensive plan amendments have had to demonstrate need. If you're going to add, say, residential land, you have to show that there's a need in the county or city or wherever for that residential land, that your population grows as such, you need to change and add additional commercial or residential. That's changed a little for all comprehensive plan amendments in general. It's not as much of a requirement anymore, but for sector plans, the statute said it explicitly is not a requirement. They don't have to show that the county is going to increase by the number of residences that they want to put out there. Requirements in 163 generally for comprehensive plans have to be met. And I'm not going to go into all of those, but They kind of are the same as the sector plan requirements, and certainly if you have questions right now, I'll answer them afterwards. But so sector plans being part of the comprehensive plan amendment. Remember I said they're a blend of comprehensive planning and developments of regional impact. Developments of regional impact are a term for developments that have regional impact. And in Alachua County, it's over 1,000 residences, or over, I think it's like 400,000 square feet of commercial, and there's some other thresholds for different types of development. If you're proposing a development like that, you have to do special things and get state review. So sector plans take that detail, the development of regional impact and comprehensive planning, and kind of combine them. The state statutes combine them so they don't have to follow two separate processes, but they kind of have their own special process. So the specific requirements for sector plans in section 163.30-5 of the Florida statutes list what, in addition to general comprehensive planning requirements, sector plans have to do. You have to give us a framework map. I'm sure that if all of y'all been involved with this process, you've seen their map, and they have them in the back of the room showing you how the different land uses, conservation, urban, mixed use, I think it's their urban, agriculture, rural, they have all the land uses on the map. They have to look at water supply needs and resources. How much water is this development going to need? Is there available water? They have to look at transportation facilities and other public facilities and what kind of impact they have on them, or if they're going to need to build new ones, when those would need to be built and how. Natural resources, they have to look at regional natural resources. They have to propose policies that would create an urban form of their development, which means a compact development with a kind of a mix of uses, so everything is close together, so you can have the compact development and then preserve everything around it. And they also have to show permanent preservation of sensitive lands, and they have to talk about how they're going to do intergovernmental coordination. For example, we're out here in Hawthorne because this development is proposed right next door to Hawthorne. It's a huge development. It's going to have impacts outside of Alachua County, so they've got to have some provision for that intergovernmental coordination between Hawthorne and City of Gainesville, Marion County, Putnam County, adjoining governments. So the comprehensive plan amendment part of the sector plan, the long-term master plan, follows the state coordinated review process. And that means there are two stages. There's a transmittal stage and an adoption stage. Once Plum Creek, we're expecting some more information to come in this week from Plum Creek, and we'll finalize our review. And at the end of my presentation, I'll talk about a little bit about the timelines and where we are in the actual application. But once we've gotten a staff report and are ready to go to public hearing, first we would go to the Planning Commission, acting as the local planning agency for a public hearing. They make a recommendation to the County Commission. County Commission would have a transmittal public hearing. Not in one night, I'm sure. If the County Commission decides to transmit the proposed plan, it will go to the State Department of Economic Opportunity. That's DEO, Department of Economic Opportunity, and other state agencies like Fish and Wildlife, Department of Transportation, Department of Ag. There's a whole list of state agencies that would also review it, and they give us comments back, the county. And so the county staff would take those comments and then prepare another staff report to go to the second stage, which will be the adoption stage. We don't go back to the Planning Commission or the local planning agency at that stage. We just go back to the County Commission for an adoption stage. The detailed specific area plan process. That's not the process we're in right now. I just want to go ahead and lay it all out for you. If the sector plan is adopted, the long-term master plan is adopted, Plum Creek would submit detailed specific area plans. They are to implement the long-term master plan, so whatever is adopted in that long-term master plan, as long as the detailed specific area plan is consistent, it probably gets adopted. It's a local government development order. The County Unified Land Development Code requires them to do that as a plan development, because that's a form of zoning we have, so that we can have a development order that lists specifically how they'll develop, and that really goes more to our process. That plan development would go back to the Planning Commission and the County Commission for adoption, but there's no transmittal. It's just one hearing with the Planning Commission, one hearing with the County Commission. Once adopted, Once the county has adopted the detailed specific area plans, and they don't have to do the entire 60,000 acres when they come in, they can do one at a time or two at a time. They just have to do at least two over the entire 60,000 acres. Once that's adopted, the county cannot downzone that property for a specified period except under certain circumstances, like they're not developing in good faith, or the plan was adopted in reliance of something that wasn't true. The same factors for anything the county commission adopts, a comprehensive plan or zoning. And I said it already, it requires a minimum of 2 public hearings, one with the planning commission and one with the county commission. The detailed specific area plan requires the same information as the long-term master plan, just in more detail. So you have a detailed identification and analysis of maximum and minimum densities and intensities, and the location of future land uses, the water supply, transportation. Same list, just more detail, so you know exactly how it's going to develop. So this is probably what you want to know. We had a scoping meeting in September of last year for this, with the Regional Planning Council. They're the ones who organized it. Florida DOT, Fish and Wildlife, Department of Economic Opportunity, the public, different counties around came, and that scoping meeting was the beginning of the process. Once Concrete let us know they wanted to do the sector plan, we had the scoping meeting to kind of talk about what issues needed to be addressed and to make sure we had a complete list of everything we thought they needed to be addressing when they came in with their application. So they took the notes from those meetings and came in December with their application. We commented, we reviewed the application as staff, and staff is not just both management, but Public Works, Department of Environmental Protection, and Growth Management are probably the big reviewers for these types of developments or any comp plan amendments, but you've got fire rescue and basically all the county departments can look into this. So we reviewed it and we commented on things that we thought that they had not answered correctly or that we needed more information on. We couldn't really review it because there just wasn't enough there. So they resubmitted some information in March. And again, there were some things that are going to be addressed now, like the entire 60,000 acres or the 12,000 acres is proposed for development, for example. All the development could have been spread out over that. And that's a lot of acres. It's not 60,000, it was just the 12, but still it's hard to say what was going where, what impact that might have. So we've asked them to more define how much development could go into each section of that and where they really thought they would develop, and we're expecting to get that with the next submittal tomorrow. I'm not sure if they're going to talk about that tonight or not. So that was probably the biggest thing we said in our second letter, and we do expect to receive that tomorrow. Once we receive that, it's going to be about 6 to 8 weeks before we get the staff report finalized, get the review finalized, get the staff report written, and get it out to the public. In the meantime, on July 8th, we will be taking this presentation and with a little bit more in it to the county commission to talk about how we're going to handle this once the staff report is ready. Whether we need to talk about ideas for venues. County commission chambers is not that big. For workshops or straight to the public hearings, we're not sure yet. And we want to talk about specific topics that we might break those hearings into so that you don't try to cover it all in one night, which we all know couldn't happen. Maybe a general overview night or two, have environmental issues, transportation, economic fiscal impact, the East Gainesville plan, follow up to any questions that came out of the first view, kind of break it down, something like that. And we're going to have that discussion at the county commission meeting during the daytime on July 8th. And that discussion will probably tell us how we're going. So if you're interested in that, you can watch that. You can come in and see it, but you can watch that on your computer or on the TV and see. We still don't have dates, but you can see if we get our information from Plum Creek tomorrow, 6 to 8 weeks or 2 months from now, if the staff report's finished, we certainly have to give, if we go straight to the planning commission hearings, we have to give them time to digest the staff report. It'll be bigger than any they've ever had. So probably early fall, late summer, early fall, as well as start having these meetings, but hopefully we'll know more on July 8th. And here's our website, and if anyone wants, I can send a copy of this PowerPoint to you if you ask. I've got cards here, and I'll answer questions when we get to it.
I have no PowerPoint. I'm wishing now that I had, because now you will all be looking at me instead of the screen. So I want to point out quickly that I'm wearing my wife's glasses because I dropped mine in the toilet at work today and stole hers out of her purse before I came here tonight. So if she's not here, I'd appreciate if no one called my wife and let her know that I have the glasses. Thank you. My name is Justin Williams. I'm here tonight in support of Plum Creek. I'm not going to give you any great detail that you're not already going to ask these others who are here tonight. I do not have as great a detail as Missy Daniels does. She does a wonderful job explaining herself very well. I'm also not as elegant a speaker as she is. So I hope that you'll take and be patient with me as I may be just a little bit anxious here tonight. And I do tend to chew my words a little. My English teacher told me that for 12 years. Stop chewing your words, Justin. So I'll try to not chew my words tonight. This process started for me 3 years ago with a phone call. And I got the phone call from Plum Creek's recreational land manager. Wanted to know if they could possibly meet me. And the purpose for that was the club that I currently manage, have been leasing a large portion of this property since 1971. So the phone call came and I was on the board, and the recreational organizer said, hey, I'd like for you to meet, and maybe a couple of you and your board could meet some folks from Plum Creek and discuss the future plans of some of their property, or what they had hoped. So I said, sure, absolutely, and we got together, and three of us met with three folks from Plum Creek. It's the first time I've met with several of these folks, and had a wonderful, candid conversation. And obviously, as you can imagine, from me being the one who had sat on the property, now I'm 43, so I was born in 1971. The gentleman who chartered the club is here tonight, and can tell you that I was there along with a lot of them when I was just in diapers and able to stand in the seat and ride along with them. And so the land is very important to me. I need you to really understand that it played a tremendous role in my life. It still does, as I'm a member of that club still today, and the current president of that club. My children are the fourth generation of my family to have the opportunity to be on those lands and experience everything that we've been so greatly blessed to be around. So when you can imagine my response when I knew that we were going to go into a process such as this. And it was many sleepless nights. And I thought, well, you know what I'll do is, so I was asked to participate on the task force. And I reluctantly agreed. And myself and another board member at the time decided we'd take it on together in tandem. And we went to the first meeting not knowing what to expect. And a year later, we were still very skeptical of the process. And we decided to go in there with our eyes wide open, but also being very conscientious of the plan and participating along with educating ourselves on just exactly what was going to take place on the property. One of those was going forth and reading the North Central Florida Strategic Policy Plan. And that's a real snoozer. I wouldn't suggest anyone read that. But becoming a little bit more familiar with that, understanding that there was not a lot listed in that plan for this side of the county. Then going into the process of learning the sector plan. Downloading the information like probably many of you out here have done, and reading and educating myself on the sector plan process. And then trying to understand and doing a fairly good job, I want to believe, on the comprehensive land use plan of Alachua County, which is a huge document in itself and policy. Not a subject matter expert in any of the three. Just someone who has taken the time to educate himself the best that he can with the limited resources that he has at hand. Capability also. But coming a year later and still not being so sure who we were, and realizing that, man, I don't know. Meeting with my club members and us discussing what our future was going to look like on these lands, and wondering what would be the future of our hope and recreational hunting on the property. And then coming to the realization, well, you know what, we're going to stick this thing out for another year and we're going to see where it goes. And then getting the vision document back. And it was very important for us that the things that we were specific in pointing out, which was that hunting remained as part of the conservation on that property, and that we develop in a sense where we can conserve as much of that property as possible while doing so, was in the vision plan. So we were now beginning to gain a footing of understanding and trust that, hey, the things that we have brought up for hours in meetings till 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night were in the plan. Now, I got to tell you, that's big to sit on a board with a bunch of folks as diverse as what I am. I'm the redneck from the woods, okay? Sitting on a board with folks from the University of Florida, the task force, and others from these tremendous organizations of trust and leadership and education in our communities. And hunting is part now of the conservation of this problem. Big to me. That told me that folks were listening to exactly what our concerns were. The next word, we want to be sure to preserve and conserve as much of that land as possible. And that was there. So we go into year 2. And now we're getting our foothold, we're gaining a little bit more ground, we're becoming a little bit more bold and asking for everything that we can ask for in this plan, which is preserving the quality of life that I've come to grow to enjoy in my small community that I live in. And how important that was to me, but soon realizing and remembering that the Georgia Pacific plant closed how many years ago, and 550 jobs were lost, and Hawthorne nearly became a ghost town. And it's still not so far from that now. And realizing that the family-centric culture that I grew up in that was so important to my family and our way of life was slowly unraveling at the seams. And then looking at my children who are 14 and 11 now, wondering, are they going to have an opportunity to remain here and have a good quality of job and provide a life to their families to where possibly they can remain here? Because since my grandmother passed away, my cousins are no longer here because there was no opportunity for them. They're everywhere. They're scattered across the United States. And we see each other now at funerals. That's as often as we see one. And that's when it dawned on me that the plan to me was about preserving the quality of life, providing an opportunity for the next generation. Not mine. This is not going to happen in my generation of time. But maybe my children. If not their children, their children. My children with their children. And possibly because of that, we can remain to contain one important plan, and that was to remain a family-centric culture. 3rd year. That's where we are now. And now, the rubber meets the road. We're getting into the long stretch. This is where this is great that we're having this time. It's great that everyone's here to hear both sides. Because it's important that everyone is informed, but it's also important that you're informed with the truth. That you're informed with what is real and what is not a myth. That you understand the facts. Read the vision document if you want to. Heck, I think my phone number may be in there. If it's not, please don't call me. But if most of you, I think a lot of you know me, even some of you in the green shirts, I've known for a while, and I'm hoping that when we leave here we can still be good friends, because that's still my intention, is that we do still remain friends. But I would ask you to please review the documents. Please be sure that you understand. Don't take the word of someone else. Don't take my word. Read the vision document. Build your own knowledge from your own research. That's when you find the truth. Thank you.